Okay, I saw Rye Dawson's most recent video, and I've been wanting to do a Israel video for a while, not just a commentary on something that happened there, but a more in-depth kind of experiment, if you will, on Israel. And I'm going to pose it to you like this. I don't have anything written down. I haven't even thought about it before I pressed the start recording button. Now I got white skin color. Okay. So my ancestors probably came from Europe, and a couple, not a couple thousand, maybe 1,000 and a little more years ago. Let's say I'm white skin color. I could be Scottish. Some of my family are redheads, and I don't have that. That's usually a thing that comes from the British Isles, Irish, Scottish, whatever. Okay, say I'm Scottish. Now, alright, so a couple hundred years ago, the British folks, they came in and they rolled right over my people, and they killed them Braveheart style, and they took them over. And so, that was centuries ago, and yeah, that's all gone and past. But some of my ancestors, they came on over to the grand old US of A to take advantage of the growing economy and the increasing prosperity. And that's fine. Now, I'm coming a few centuries after the atrocities against my people by the British, and I am going to say this. You guys attacked my people hundreds of years ago, and I am going to come back. I am going to come out on a boat or on a plane into Scotland, in some part of Scotland, wherever I believe my family was from, and I'm going to come in and say, based on my ancestors' religious beliefs and where they were located, this is now my land. And I'm going to come in, and I'm going to have some buddies do it. I'm going to call up some Scottish businessmen, or some businessmen abroad who are sympathetic to my cause. Maybe they have Scottish ancestry, or they have Irish ancestry, and they don't like the British. And I'm going to come up to Scotland, and I'm going to do this. I've got AK-47s. I'm ready if anybody opposes me coming in and taking some of this land that I'm going to say is mine because my ancestors were on it. I'm going to shoot them, and I'm going to shoot them dead. They're going to be killed. That will not be tolerated. And well, why am I posing this to you? I'm not even finished yet. So I am successful. Let's say I have I start with a couple hundred people, and I grow it a few thousand, and I eventually get a couple 100,000 people. That would be a lot, but let's say it goes really well. Now, okay, so I get there, and I managed to take over a very sizable chunk of land. Let's say, let's say I got a good strip of land between the English and Scottish border, and that was where I started my country, because that was where my ancestors were from. And of course, they were Bible-believing people, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to instate these laws that say, okay, I've taken over all this land, so the people who are bordering me, my country, you might have a tie to this land too, but you are no longer welcome if you are not a Bible-believing Christian, and you won't be tolerated here. Now, I will make an exception. For people who are already in the country, you can be secular. And I'll claim in international negotiations that I'm a secular country, and that the founding of my country is not based off of any kind of racial or religious identity. Now, what else am I going to do? I'm going to pass an immigration law, and it's going to say, just like I said before, you're not allowed in if you are non-Christian, but I'm also going to say, if you are a non-white individual, you are not allowed into my country. Now, this is hypothetical. I've taken it really far at this point. What are some other fun things I could do? I'm going to try and appeal to the international community, but I'm going to violate their agreements behind closed doors, agreements that I've allegedly signed on to. I'm going to make an attempt to acquire chemical weapons Unfortunately, my country is too poor to have nuclear weapons, but I'll take chemical weapons, and I'm going to try and get some nuclear weapons as time progresses. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say that the legacy of my country is a long-standing struggle with the British, and even up until a few decades ago we were still oppressed, and I'm going to claim that as another justification for the foundation of my country. And I think I've gone far enough. You all get the idea. It's been 5 minutes into this now. Well, I'm sure some of you picked up on it. And what I've just done is I've created Israel. I've created my own personal Israel for myself. And this is the strategy I've employed, is the mimicry of Israel. It's the same thing. So why is it? Well, I started off by saying I'm Scottish. Now, I don't know much about my ancestry. I think I'm Dutch. That's what I've been told, that I've got a Dutch ancestry. Besides the point, let's say I am Scottish, like I've laid out here. And I've said 1,000 years ago, this was the home of my ancestors, and based on that, I have the right to come in and kill people and take the land. Well, that's Israel. They go way back, thousands of years, much longer than I do, and based on their experience with recent oppression, they said, well, it's going to be a good idea to come in and attack this other country, and because our ancestors lived there 2,000 years ago or more, that is somehow a good idea to come in and believe that we own the land, because our ancestors owned it according to our religious beliefs. Now, it is true that the Jews had come in, historically, in the 1900s, early 1900s, and some of the land was genuinely theirs. They had traded for it, and they bought it. But if you look at the borders of Israel, it's vastly out of proportion to what happened there, and they were granted very, very unfair concessions by the British, unfair to the Arabs. Now, what else have I done that Israel has done? I said, I'm going to have an immigration law that is going to restrict non-whites and non-Christians. Well, Israel, with their laws, they don't go as far on the religion, but they do. There is an expedited process. If you're Jewish, you're first to the line for immigration. Now, imagine if the United States came out and they said, we are going to expedite you, since this is a majority Christian country, you are expedited because you're Christian. If it were anybody but Israel, if the United States did it, the international community, or not the international community, but everybody would be up in arms. They don't. Of course, I say not the international community because everybody, like the UN, just voted to overwhelmingly voted against Israel in the General Assembly. But everyone would be up in arms. Why is the United States passing a bill that gives favor to Christians or bans other religions from coming in? Israel just does just that. You can look at the immigration laws. You can come in if you're a non-Jew. You have to jump through hoops to do it. What else did I do that Israel's done? I've gone and I've got against the I always get mixed up on this. Non-proliferation treaty. I'm trying to get nuclear weapons, and I've already got chemical weapons. And for the people who are on my borders, I've aggravated them again and again. I've come in and I've trampled all over their cultural beliefs. Because of course Scotland today is more secular, but I've come in and said, because my ancestors were religious there over 1,000 years ago, I'm going to come in and what this current state of affairs is going to be completely disrupted. Let's see, what else have I done that's related to Israel? Oh yeah, the main thing is, of course, the justification that because my people have been wronged by the British, that is an excuse to come in and oppress the Scottish that I have taken the land from. That's basically what the Israeli equivalent is saying. The Germans oppressed me, so I'm going to go and invade the Arabs. That doesn't make much sense at all, does it? So this hypothetical scenario, regardless of what you think about the current affairs in Israel, what's going on over there, the original idea of Zionism and the things spelled out in the British declarations about, you know, dividing it up and how it eventually turned out. It was just pure stupidity. Because Party A oppressed me, I'm going to go over here to this land, which was associated with my racial or ethnic or religious identity thousands of years ago. So Party A oppresses me, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to attack Party B based on 1,000-year-old historical events, and I'm going to call that legitimate. Oh, I forgot. Oh yeah, I forgot to say this. I said this. You know, I imitate being a secular state, because if you look at, you know, Israel, they always like to say they're secular. That's bullshit. You know it's not, because you give the expedited immigration privileges, and you shut out the Palestinians because they're Muslim. You shut them out. There's nothing secular about Israel. You just have to look at the performance. I mean, good Lord, they walk around with the religious gear on them. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not singling out Jews here. I just don't like the religious gear, whether it's on anybody, Muslims, Christians, or Jews, anybody. The religious gear, and then they, you know, the expedited immigration laws, favoritism towards Jews. Nobody can say that Israel is a secular state. I don't care how tolerant or supposedly liberal it is. Israel is not a secular state, based on the laws and the actions of the government. And you know, I also mentioned I'm going to go out and I'm going to seek the approval of billionaires that can come in and fund me, millionaires, and this is the best part about Israel, because one of the common claims is, well, the Holocaust happened, so the Jewish people need a home. Oh, really? Well, what about the American Jews? Because they weren't oppressed by the, you know, by the Germans, yet they get the right to go to Israel just like all the other Jews. You know, a lot of the Jews were in Europe. Well, why are the American Jews given a free ride? Because remember, Israel is racist. Zionism is racism. It's written into the laws. Racism is written into the immigration laws. Go look up the Israeli immigration laws. The American Jews can come to Israel just because they're Jewish, even though they, you know, a lot of the ones that were here before World War II, never oppressed by the Nazis, never sent to concentration camps, and it applies to any international Jew, Australian Jew, you know, wherever you're from. It doesn't matter in the Israeli Constitution, because it's based on race. It's not based on some moral truth that there is a duty to kind of help those who are affected by the Holocaust. If the Jews really wanted to do that in a good way, you know, the Zionist Jews, you know, when I say Jews here, I'm not talking about the you know, the whole Jewish population. It's just the Israeli Jews, the Zionist Jews, that have come to bring this state of affairs into being. If they really were doing it in a secular and non-racist way, this is what they would have done. We all know that the whole point of Zionism was religiously based. They wanted to get back to their religious homeland. Wouldn't it have been much smarter from a secular government? They claim they're secular. Could they have not gone to America, petitioned the American government, said, we want to buy out this section of land here, buy out a good portion of land in, let's say, Montana. Great land in Montana. Lots of farmland. It would be a great place to build a homeland. And say, we kind of know that there is an established thing here, but, you know, maybe some of the federal lands that you have, we could buy them from you. And after we buy them, you know, could we please be allowed to get some degree of autonomy? Now, I think this would have been favorable to the American government. You know, of course, if they had not been thinking about having an ally in the Middle East, they could say, hold on, I need to put my laptop on charge here. Sorry about this. I didn't realize the battery was so low. Alright, it's fixed. So they go to Montana and they say, this is much easier than going to the Middle East and starting a war and a conflict with the Arabs. We'll buy this land, petition the federal government for a little autonomy, kind of like a mini-state, you know. And this is, of course, a lot cheaper for the U.S. government, because they don't have to fund Israel into infinity with foreign aid subsidies. And you have, Montana land, high quality compared to Israel. You're not surrounded by someone who wants to bomb you. Great farmland. Montana has coal. They got oil. This is a perfect place. Now, why did the Zionists not choose to do this? Well, because they're Zionists. It's in their name. Zionism was a racist religious effort to go in and establish a society based on ethnic lines, ethnic Jews. That's the primary, and secondary, religious. That was a lesser motivation because there's a tradition of secularism in the Jewish community. As time has gone on, that's been a secular group. They're a secular Zionists. So what I've done with my scenario, I've kind of gotten away from that, is if anybody else does it besides the Zionists, it's racism. If I made that proposal official and I was being serious about it, I would be a racist. I'd also be a religious bigot. But to this day, people will defend Zionism to their dying breath and say that it's not racist, even though it's admitted in the Israeli laws. Go look it up. If you're a Jew, you're given expedited privileges. You can go to Israel easier. Everyone else has to jump through hoops. Why couldn't a Palestinian say, I want to apply for Israeli citizenship? No, you're not a Jew. It's not a game. That's just how it is. You've got to be Jewish to go there. Of course, I've said before, you can go there without the citizenship, or without the status of being Jewish. There are provisions in the law. The vast majority of people, it's expedited for them. Everyone else has to go through a special process or be of some value to the Israeli state. So anyway, this is the longest video I've done in a while. I think I want to cut it off. But my Scottish proposal is fundamentally no different from what's happened with Israel. And if anybody wants to make the case that it's not, please do, because under my Scottish identity, my ancestors have been historically, hurt by the British, and me as an American Scotsman, somehow that gives me the right to go and invade the original Scottish territory and claim it as my own and displace the existing, Scottish people there. I'd like to get a response on this video, but it'll probably, when I do this as a response to Rye, because Rye mentioned at the end, if you speak out against Israel, you will get the neo-Nazis coming on your page, and I've said enough about them. That's probably mostly what I'll get, just a bunch of rambling. But here I'm trying to make the distinction between Zionism is not, a Jewish conspiracy. It could be anybody saying this. Anybody, trying to propose I'm going to invade this based on my religion or my race. But for some reason, just how it's come out historically, the United States and the British needed an ally in the Middle East. Racism has become acceptable in this instance, and a whole country is based on the idea of racial and religious identity. So thanks for watching. I hope Rye approves the video, but if he doesn't, that's okay. I'll just keep it as a standalone, and people can watch it straight from my channel.